Yeah, hello everyone, good morning. And in today's session, we'll talk about NAT gateways, NAT instances. How can we configure all the logs related to our VPC? Okay, and then we can see how can we connect or communicate between two different VPCs. Okay, and today it will be purely on AWS only. I will not going to discuss anything related to Azure. Okay, so I will take a separate session for Azure as well. Okay, so let me share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see my screen. Hope this is visible.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So in today's session, we'll talk about NAT gateway. Any idea why do we use NAT gateway or NAT instance? Anyone? NAT means basically network, and then we have the address and then transition. Okay. So what happened yesterday? I mean, we have created one VPC. So this was our architecture, right? So let me draw that. This was our VPC. And inside this VPC, we have two different subnets. This is AZ1 and then this is AZ2, right? So this was private, this was kind of public. Yes or no? One was public. And in both of these subnets, we have created one EC2. Okay, here also we have created one EC2. Okay, yes or no? This is how we have set up yesterday, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now to these EC2s, we have something called, what is this? This is NACL, right? So this is network access control list, basically the firewalls which are working at the subnet level to our VPC. And then above our NACL, we have
Routing table.
routing tables. Yes. So we have our route tables. One is for public and one is for private. RT and then RT. Okay. And then what we have our internet gateway attached. IGW, right? So what was happening whenever a user was trying to access for the public EC2, what will happen? It will go and connect to our internet gateway, and from internet gateway to this routing table, and from this routing table, it will bypass NACL and it will connect to the EC2. So we have internet access to our public subnet. But whereas for private, we don't have internet access, right? So, but how to connect? With the help of Bastion server, we can connect. That's one thing what we have seen. Now, our requirement is even after connecting with the Bastion server, there is no internet access. Even if I'm trying to do ping, we don't have internet access. My requirement is to provide internet access to the EC2 which are in the private subnet, and that should be secure one. In that case, what we need to do is we can configure NAT gateway or NAT instance. This service in AWS will help us to provide internet access to the instances which are in the private subnet. So what will happen? Where should we deploy our NAT gateway? We should deploy our NAT gateway always in the public subnet only. That's the rule. Okay, NAT gateway should always be in public subnet. So whenever we try to access, NAT gateway will help us to provide internet access to the EC2. Okay, so what we'll do, internet gateway, and I will be configuring my route table to my NAT gateway, and from NAT gateway it will try to provide internet access to my EC2 instance. But what is the use of NAT gateway? I mean, why do we need? If I'll configure internet gateway, even it is possible to get the internet, right? Then why do we need NAT gateway? So we don't want to expose our applications to the outside world. There is a difference between internet gateway and NAT gateway. This will be asked in interviews. Okay, so we have difference between difference between IGW and NAT gateway. So what is the difference? IGW or internet gateway is used for inbound and outbound access. Okay, whereas NAT gateway or NAT instance, both are same, guys. Okay, so NAT is used for outbound access, means there is no incoming, only the outgoing is available with the help of NAT gateway. So our application or our EC2 will be secure, and still we will be providing internet access. But why do we require internet? For example, I want to download some software, or I want to update my packages, or I want to maintenance. I mean, I need to update my kernel packages. So in that case, we might require internet access. So that's where we configure NAT gateway or NAT instance. Understood what is the use of NAT gateway? That is to provide access to the instances which are in the private subnet. NAT gateway or instance are used to provide internet access to instances in private subnet. This will be asked for sure. If they are asking about VPC, then they will be asking about NAT gateway and NAT instance.
So NAT gateway is basically dependent on internet gateway, right? If there is no internet
gateway is not dependent on internet gateway. No.
Okay.
NAT gateways will be deployed on public subnet, and public subnet will have the internet gateway access. Okay.
Okay.
So now
okay.
we have two services. One is NAT gateway, one is NAT instance. So what is the difference between them? Why do we have two different names or two different services? NAT gateway. Okay, this is nothing but the AWS provided services, means AWS provided service maintained and managed by AWS itself. Means we are just using this service as per our requirement. We are not going to maintain that service. Everything will be managed by AWS itself. This is completely service based in our AWS. Okay, the billing will be different when it comes to NAT instance. So what is NAT instance now? NAT instance is nothing but our regular EC2 with NAT configurations. We are responsible for maintenance and uptime. Means this is a kind of regular EC2 and we are responsible for the maintenance. Means we should make sure that our NAT instance is always up and running. If you want to upgrade the operating system, then we are responsible for that. Okay, and we are responsible for the configurations. Everything is on our head. This is completely dependent upon our team. And whereas NAT gateway, it is managed and maintained by AWS itself. So there is a lot of difference in billing as well. So NAT gateways are pretty much costlier than NAT instance. Okay. So our regular EC2, I mean, whatever we used to create, right? So one Linux image or Ubuntu image, that's a kind of regular EC2 what we can use for NAT instance. Okay. And also we need to always remember that we should configure NAT gateway in public subnet only. Okay. So let us go to the practical part. So this is my AWS account and this is my VPC. Okay. So let me go to EC2. Let me launch one EC2 instance. This is my public EC2, means public subnet EC2, and here I'm configuring Linux 2 image. T2 micro, the key pair will be first server, and then network configurations, my VPC. Okay, and I will be using public subnet, enabling the auto assign public IP, and selecting existing security group, and launch instance. So I have created one instance in public subnet. Okay, let me launch one more instance in private subnet now. Private EC2 and then Linux to image. Key pair, let me use first server and my VPC. Here I will be selecting private subnet because I don't want to have internet access to my private EC2. Enable, select existing security group, default one, and let me launch instance. So we have got two EC2 instances, means one VPC, two subnets, two EC2 instances. Okay, so let us first test them whether we are able to connect to the internet or not, and then we can set up our NAT gateways and NAT instances. Okay, so this is my public. Let me try to connect. Copy this key. So my keygen is in downloads. So let me go to downloads. Okay. So let me try to connect. Yes. Right. So this is my public subnet EC2 and this is working as expected. And google.com, it is working as expected, right? So we have internet access for the public EC2, whereas for the private EC2, there should be no internet access. Let me go to private EC2, connect, copy this. Let me open one more terminal. And hit enter. So it will not be able to connect to my instance now because there is no internet access, right? So what it should throw as connection timeout. But we have seen one hack yesterday, right? So how can we connect to the instance which is in the private subnet? How can we do that? How can jump server? Yeah, so jump server. So let me first copy this key. So this is my key gem. I will consider this as my jump server. vi test.pem. Let me paste the key here. Let me save this. Permission should be 600 only. Okay, now let me try to connect ssh-i test.pem ec2-user @ and then with the help of private IP we can connect private EC2. Copy. Yes, right. Now if I'll do, for example, su And if I'll try to do ping google.com, we will not be able to connect to the internet because there is no internet gateway attached to this instance. So this is how we were expecting. Now let us try to configure one NAT gateway. So where can I find that? So for that purpose, you can use NAT gateway service. Okay, here you will find NAT gateway. If you click here, okay, so click on create NAT gateway, my ngw NAT gateway, and then which subnet? Which subnet should be created? As per this diagram,
Public.
if it is in private, then it will not work. Okay, so it should be in public only. So public subnet. Okay, connectivity type public and elastic IP. Now, what is elastic IP? It is asking us to assign one elastic IP. For every elastic IP, we are going to pay to AWS as well. Elastic IPs are nothing but the static IPs or fixed IPs. Static or fixed IP address. For example, if you'll see this EC2, let me duplicate this page. If I'll do EC2, okay, so here we have something called public IPs. So these IP addresses are getting changed when we shut down and start our machine, right? Have you observed this?
Yes.
Why these are getting changed? What can we do if you don't want to change your public IP?
We can use elastic IP to
Yeah,
keep this public.
yeah. So we can use elastic IPs as well. Okay, so what will happen? Elastic IPs are fixed IPs. We for these IP addresses, we are not paying anything to AWS. It is free of cost. So the moment we shut down our machine, this might be allocated to some XYZ person. Okay, when we are using elastic IPs, even if you shut down your machine and start after 1 week, the IP address for this EC2 will be same. It will not get changed, and we are paying for that IP address as well. Okay, so that will be reserved to our instance only, unless and until we are going to release that IP. Okay, so elastic IPs are very important because in production servers, I don't want the IPs to get changed. Do you guys want to change the IP address each and every time in your application?
No.
No, right? So in that case, we should always go for elastic IPs only. Okay, so NAT gateways, it is asking to allocate one elastic IP. So do we have any elastic IPs as of now? No. If you click here, see, no elastic IP. So if I click on allocate elastic IP, then AWS has attached this IP address. See, 184.73.60.64. Okay. So now this elastic IP has been attached to my NAT gateway, and then I will click on create NAT gateway. That's it. So what we have did, we have created one NAT gateway in public subnet and attached one elastic IP as well. Okay. So if I'll click here, the state is still pending, means it will take couple of minutes to be available. Okay. Observe this part, guys. So see, ping google.com, this is still not working because there is no internet access. It got stuck. So let us wait for a couple of minutes so that this is available, and then we can continue our configurations. In the meantime, do you have any questions?
You can access the NAT gateways.
Sorry.
You can access the gateways.
You cannot access NAT gateway. No, you cannot connect to NAT gateway directly. You can connect to NAT instance, that is different. And NAT gateway service, we cannot connect to NAT gateway service. No.
So we are going to connect on NAT.
Yeah, I will show. I mean, see, you cannot do SSH to your NAT gateway. You cannot do SSH. We can use that service. That's it. I will show you that part. How can we use that? Okay.
So can we use the elastic IP to for the login SSH?
No, that will not work. So once this is available, what we need to do is we need to go to our VPC again. Okay, so this is my VPC, right? So this is my VPC. In routing tables, go to your private routing table, attach routes, edit route. Okay, see private route table, we already have the private subnet attached, right? Then you should go to routes, edit routes, add. So 0.0, and here we can select the NAT gateway, and then it will show you the NAT gateway what we have created, and click on save. So now what will happen? See, once connected, we might able to see the internet access. It is active. Okay. Let me try to ping again and see what will happen. Maybe we have been timed out of the session.
We have to close it, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to quit this. Control C. Okay, this is my public EC2 or private one, not sure. Yeah, so let me first try to connect to my public EC2. Okay, so this is my public EC2. Let me switch to root user. Here we have our keygen, right? So let me try to connect to my private EC2 now. ssh-i test.pem ec2-user @private IP. So what is my private IP? This one, 27. Okay, connected. Okay, now I'm connected to my private EC2. So now if I'll do ping google.com, hopefully this time internet is working. See, now we have got the internet access. Okay, so this is how we are going to configure our NAT gateways. So why are we using NAT gateway?
To provide the internet access
To provide internet access to the private
EC2 instances. Okay, what is the difference between internet gateway and NAT gateway? Internet gateway is also providing
IPW is
internet
for
access.
internet inbound and outbound access,
Right.
and for NAT is only outbound access.
Okay, so this is how we can provide internet access to the instances which are in the private subnets. Okay, now let me exit from my private EC2. Okay, ping google.com. So this is my public EC2, guys. Google.com. Only for connectivity, I'm trying to keep this. Okay, so now what I will do is let me remove my NAT gateway. Let me edit this route and let me remove this. Okay, so whatever configuration I have did NAT gateway, I have removed this. Now let me go to NAT gateway. Let me delete this NAT gateway as well. Delete NAT gateway. Okay, and here you can find the elastic IPs, whatever we have purchased, the elastic IP. So let me release elastic IP as well. So once this is deleted, then it can be released. Okay, so NAT gateways is getting deleted. Okay, it will take some time to delete. So the reason why I have deleted is so that I can configure NAT instance. So now in order to configure NAT instance, we need to launch one EC2 first. So launch instance. So as we discussed, this is also a regular EC2 with NAT configuration. So what is the NAT configuration? So let me go to my EC2. This I will configure as NAT instance. Amazon Linux 2. Sorry, not this image. Let me go to browse AMIs. Let me search for the image called from community AMIs. I can search for the image called NAT. Okay, here we'll find lot of images related to our NAT gateways. See, Amazon AMI VPC NAT instance. So what they have did, someone has did all the configurations and kept this image so that others can use and can configure their NAT instance. So what I will be doing, I will be using this image, select, okay, and then instance type will be T2 micro, keygen will be first server, okay, and where should we deploy this? We should deploy this in the public subnet, right? So let me enable my public EC2 security group default and click on launch instance. So did we find any difference in our regular EC2 and NAT EC2? The only change is in terms of AMI. So the AMI what we have used is something related to our NAT configurations. Okay. Let me release this elastic IP. Still pending. Okay. So now what we have did, we have got our NAT instance. So what we need to do is we need to disable all the networking related to this AMI. I don't want any networking. So I will do actions, networking, change source or destination. Stop. Okay, so I have disabled the incoming and outgoing for this instance so that I can configure this as a NAT gateway. Okay, so this is done. So now what I will do, again I will go to my VPC, my routing tables, private route table, routes, edit route, add route 0.0, and then here we have internet gateway, sorry, instance, and then we can select the NAT instance what we have configured, click on save. So once done, now we will be able to access internet as well. So let us try, let us test this. So this is my public EC2. So let me connect to my private EC2 27. Okay, now let me try to do ping google.com and check the connectivity. See, this is working. Understood? So this is a regular EC2. This is our regular EC2 with a NAT configuration. That's it. For example, if this service is down, if this instance is not working, what will happen? We'll lose the internet connectivity. If you want to update that EC2, then we need to update that manually. There is no, I mean, the AWS is not going to support that, right? So we need to do the maintenance for our EC2. See, this has been stopped because this EC2 is shut down now. So this is how we can configure either NAT gateway or NAT instance. The only difference is both are used to provide internet access to private subnets. Okay, both are used to provide internet access to private EC2s. NAT gateways is the service provided by AWS, managed by AWS, and maintained by AWS. NAT EC2 is the regular EC2. We need to maintain that and we need to manage that. Clear?
Yes.
Yes,
So this is all about NAT gateways and NAT instances. Okay, so now we have one more concept, that is VPC flow logs. Means, for example, this is my VPC, right? So whoever is trying to access my applications, my EC2, I mean inside my VPC, whoever is trying to connect to my VPC and check, I mean from which source the request has been received, how many packets have been traveled, whether the request has been accepted or not. I want all the details. I mean, I want to monitor my VPC. In this case, we have the concept called VPC Flow Logs, and this is also very important. But what is the actual purpose of VPC Flow Logs? The traffic which is flowing to our VPC is being captured by VPC Flow Log service. Okay, but the actual use is in terms of security. Means you might see one communication email from security team that they want to get all the information related to your VPC. In that case, you need to provide these logs to them so that they can check which IP address are being trying to access, which are being getting denied, and if someone is trying to hack our applications or not. So this is something which will help the security team to enhance our security. Okay, so how to configure VPC flow logs? For example, this is my VPC, right? So this is my VPC. Here, if you observe this in routing tables, private route tables, see it has been configured as black hole. This was our NAT instance. Once our instance has been shut down, this has been status is as black hole, means it is not available. Okay, so this is how the status will get changed. Okay, so let me just remove this. Okay, so let me go to my VPC. So this is my VPC, and here we have something called flow logs. Okay, flow logs will help us to capture all the logs which are being requested to our VPC, and this will help the security team to enhance the security. Okay, so how to create this? Just go to create flow log. Okay, what should be the name? For example, VPC flow log. Okay, and here what type of request you want to capture, means whether the request which are being only accepted or rejected, or all the requests. So I want accepted request, rejected request, and all the other requests as well. That should be captured in my logs. Okay, so I will be using all here. Okay, and then maximum aggregation interval means for how much period of time, for every minute or for every 10 minutes. So I want to capture for every 1 minute, because 10 minutes is a high time. So I want to capture logs for every 1 minute. Okay, so I will be using 1 minute. Now the destination part means where do you want to save these logs? So we have different options. One is CloudWatch logs, one is Amazon S3, one is Kinesis, in the same account, and different account means different AWS accounts. So in my case, let us try to configure this in Amazon S3 and CloudWatch. Okay, so first case I will be using send to an Amazon S3 bucket. So now what is S3? S3, for now, just understand one thing, that S3 is one of the storage available in AWS. We'll get to know the complete details in coming sessions. Okay, so send to an S3 bucket, and then here it is asking us to create one S3 bucket. I mean, what is the ARN? ARN is nothing but Amazon resource number. For every resource, it will create one identification number. Okay, so have you created an S3? No, right? So let me try to click here, create S3, or else what we can do is you can go here, search for S3. Simple storage object. Okay, click S3. Here you can see create a bucket. Click on create a bucket. Okay, and what should be the bucket name? Always remember that your bucket name should be unique. Means across the globe, if 1 crore people are trying to create your S3 bucket, then your name should be unique to that 1 crore people. Bucket name cannot be overlapped. And also, if you observe one thing here, we can see as global, means S3 is one such service which is globally available, means it is available across your AWS account. It is global service. Okay. So here now we want to configure the unique name. So my VPC Flow Log 54050. Okay, so this is the name of my S3 bucket what I want to configure. If suppose this name is not unique, then it will throw error. Okay, so let us try. And then it is asking for one region. So I want to store my bucket in US East 1 only, I mean North Virginia. So our S3 service is global, but the bucket is regional specific. We'll discuss about this later. Don't worry. Okay, and then scroll down. ACL enabled. ACL enabled means this is one kind of policy what we configured to our bucket. Means I want all the objects or all the files in the bucket should be public for now. Okay. And then scroll down. So click on enable all. Sorry, I don't want to block all the access. I want to access all the buckets or files publicly. Okay, so I will be disabling this option. And then scroll down, acknowledge, scroll down, versioning. For now I don't want to enable this versioning, so let me disable this only. And I don't want any encryptions for now, so I will ignore this and I will click on create bucket. If the name is unique, then it will create, or else it will get failed. So now what happened, one S3 bucket has been created. If I click here and if I'll go to properties, here we can find Amazon resource name. This is my bucket name. So let me just copy this bucket. Okay, and if I click on objects again, see, as of now no objects means no files has been uploaded. So let me go to my VPC Flow Logs. Here I need to paste the name of my ARN. Okay, and then what should be the format of your logs, means the logs whatever VPC Flow Logs is trying to capture, what should be the format. If you go for default format, this is how it will capture. If you go for custom format, then here you can see, for example, you want account ID, from which account it is trying to access. For example, you want instance ID, which instance is trying to access. For example, you want packets, I mean how many packets have been traveled. Okay, and then for example, you want to check region, which region, from which region it is trying to access. Okay, and VPC ID, from which VPC it is trying to access. Okay, and subnet ID, which subnet it is trying to access. So you can customize your logs as well as per your requirement. Okay, but in my case, for now I'm using AWS default format. Okay, so that let it capture everything. See, it will capture version, account ID, interface ID, source address, source port, destination port, protocol, packet, byte, start, end, action, log status, means all the possible details it is trying to capture. So I'm using default format. Okay, and what should be the file format? So let us use text only. So let me scroll down. Okay, and partition your logs for hour to reduce your query cost and get faster response. Basically, it is trying to save some cost for us, so that it will try to capture for every 24 hours. I mean, it will try to run the queries. Okay, so in my case, let it be default only, and scroll down, click on create flow log. So now if I click on flow logs, here we can see one VPC flow log has been created. This was the name and this is the ID, and filter is all, destination is S3, and this is the bucket where we are trying to store our log. So now what will happen, whatever we are trying to do inside our VPC, everything will be captured now. For example, if you want to test, so let me go to my EC2. Let me open one duplicate page. Once configured, for testing purpose, you can try to delete or try to create something so that it will be captured. Okay, here how many instances are there? We have 3 instances. So let me delete this, stop this EC2 NAT instance. Okay, so terminate instance, and also let me release my elastic IPC VPC elastic IP. Let me release. Always make sure that you are deleting and releasing all the IP addresses. Unnecessarily, it will create some billing for you. Okay, so I have did two different activities. One is by terminating my EC2 and one is by releasing my elastic IP. Okay, now if you'll refresh this page, see, we can see that some directory has been created, AWS logs. If I'll open these logs, then here we can find some random number. So what is this number? Can anyone guess? Can anyone guess this? This number. This is nothing but my account ID. See,
Unicorn.
this is the account ID. Okay, if I'll open this, nothing has been captured yet. It will take a couple of minutes to capture, and we can see some log files have been created. Okay, so we'll wait for a couple of minutes. In the meantime, if you have any questions, then let me know. Okay, so here if I'll refresh, see, you can see what VPC Flow Logs folder has been created, and then US East 1A, basically because of the region. Okay, click 2023 is the year, and 10th is nothing but my month, October, right? And then date, that is 26th. If I'll open, then here we can find some .gz file, means nothing but our tar file. So if I'll click on this file, then here we have different options like download or open. So let me download this to my local machine. So download. So this file has been downloaded. So if I'll open this file, okay, so this is the file which has been saved in my S3. So if I'll double click this file, it will be opening. Okay, and then we have one text file. So if I'll open our view file, and if I'll scroll up, see, here you can find which version, which account ID, what is the interface ID, source address, destination address, packets, bytes, started, log status. So you can see all the request which has been transferred to our VPC. Okay, when we provide these details to the security team, then they can better analyze this. What happened, from which account ID the request came, from which internet interface, ENI, Elastic Network Interface. Okay, and what is the source address? This is the source address, and this is the destination. See, if you see this 192.168.0.10, if you remember, what is this 10? 192.168.0.10,
Right.
and also we have
Private.
0.27 here. If you see this, where is my EC2? Let me go to my EC2. See, 27. This is my private EC2. Public EC2 was 0.10. See, 0.10, and the request has been accepted. So this is how it will track all the details of the request which has been traveled to our VPC. Clear? This is very important, and this is what we need to talk about. This is what we need to talk in interviews as well, and this will help you to add some impressions on the interviewer. Okay, and try to remember this. What are the different parameters we are trying to capture? Not everything, but at least account ID, interface ID, destination, packet, start, end, and the status. Again, here we can see all the request has been accepted. There is no rejection because we haven't, no one tried to access my applications, right? So this is how we can capture all the details. Clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And similarly, as I said, we have one more way, that is to push our flow logs to our CloudWatch. For example, where is my VPC? Okay, so this is my VPC, right? Flow logs. So we have used one destination type, that is S3, and we have one more destination type, that is CloudWatch log group. So if I'll click on create flow log again, so let me try to create one more flow log 2, CloudWatch. This time this name is CloudWatch, and you want to accept all the requests for every 1 minute, and this time we should select send to CloudWatch logs. So what is CloudWatch? CloudWatch is one monitoring service available in AWS, which will help us to monitor our applications. Means whatever is happening on your AWS account, for example, your EC2, how it is behaving, if your capacity is getting full or if your CPU utilization is getting full, then we are trying to monitor all our applications or resources with the help of CloudWatch. This is one monitoring service provided by AWS. Okay, and CloudWatch logs is nothing but where we can store our logs directly. Okay, so let me click here, and then destination log group. This, I mean, CloudWatch also we have one detailed session on CloudWatch, so don't worry about that as well. For now, just follow this process. Okay, so then it is asking us to create what destination log group means. It is asking us to provide where you want to store your logs. Okay, so let me go to my CloudWatch. So let me go to my instances. Let me go to my CloudWatch. Okay, and here we have something called log group. So this is the service, CloudWatch service, and here we have something called log group. So let me click here. And as of now, no log groups, right? So let me create one log group. VPC Flow Logs CloudWatch. Okay, I don't want to keep any expiry date, or else what will happen after 1 day it will get expired. So never expire for now, and ignore and click on create. So one log group has been created. So let me open this, and here we have one ARN number again, right? So let me copy this. Okay, or else let me just copy the name. This is my log group name. Okay, and then it is asking for one IAM role. So what is the IAM role? What is IAM? IAM is one service. It is called as Identity Access Management. So what is the use of IAM? In simple words, IAM will help us to provide different level of access to different users. In Linux, what we have did, we have provided access, we have created different users and provided sudo access, right? So similarly, we can also create different users to this AWS account. Means, for example, this is your company AWS account. Then everyone will not have their individual accounts, right? So everyone will be using same AWS account to create EC2, to create other services. Okay, and IAM service will help us to create different users. Okay, and again in IAM we have something called role. So role, why do we use role? For example, whenever you want to communicate from one service to another service, then we need to have one IAM role. Means in here what we are trying to do, we are trying to store our VPC flow logs to our CloudWatch log group. Means from flow log service we want to communicate to CloudWatch log group, right? So for that purpose we need to have one IAM role which should be created. Okay, role is to communicate between different services from AWS flow log to CloudWatch log group. Okay, similarly, for example, if you want to communicate from your EC2 to S3, then we should create one IAM role with the specific permissions. Okay, so let me go to IAM now again. Let me go to IAM. So let me open IAM and create one IAM role related to my flow log. So let me go to roles, create role. Okay, now here we have different type of roles. What are these and all we'll discuss in the complete different session. So for now, let me open one thing. So let me check the documentation. Okay, so VPC flow logs to store in CloudWatch log group. So always read the documentation so that you will get all the answers. See, publish flow logs to CloudWatch log. So this is what we are trying to do, right? So if I'll open this, it will show you the documentation. How can we do this? And if you scroll down here, it is helping out with the IAM role as well. Means whatever the permissions are required that are already available in the documentation. Okay, so here we can select AWS account. So let me copy this permission. Let me go to my IAM. So this is my IAM AWS account. This account, click on next. And then, or else let me do one thing. So instead of creating role directly, let me create one policy. Okay, let me go to policy, create policy. And paste whatever we have copied from here. Just copy this in the JSON format and click on next. What should be the policy name? For example, VPC Flow Logs CloudWatch. Okay, CloudWatch permissions. Okay, and then here we can see what all the different things which has been added to our policy, and then click on create policy. So one policy has been created with a name called VPC Flow Logs. Okay, now with the help of this policy, let me create one role. Go to role. See, once the policy has been created, then go to the trusted policy and create this role. Create role, custom trust policy. This is what the documentation is telling. Say trust policy, and just copy this and paste here. What is policy? What is role? We'll talk about this in different session. Okay. So next, and then attach the policy whatever we have created. So what policy we have created? VPC Flow Logs. So this is what I have created, right? So let me select and click on next. So what should be the name? VPC Flow Log role. This is how I want to configure my role name. Okay, let me just copy and then click on create role. So we have successfully created one IAM role. If you see this, you can find this role which we have created. Okay, now let me again go back to my role. Okay, let me search here. It is not available. Let me refresh. Okay, VPC Flow Log role. Okay, and then default format, and then click on create flow log. So now we have given the enough permissions to communicate from VPC Flow Logs to CloudWatch. So if I click on Flow Logs, we can see two different logs are available now. One destination is S3, one destination is CloudWatch logs. Okay, now if you'll go to CloudWatch, go to your log groups. Okay, so this was the log group what we have created, right? So if I'll open this and if I'll refresh this, here it will print some messages. I mean the same messages whatever we have seen here, right? So everything will be captured over here. If I'll refresh this, it will take some time to create. Okay, so let me try to do some activity. So let me try to delete my one EC2, that is private EC2. Let me delete that. That is not required for me. So let me go to instances, private EC2, instance state terminal. I'm just trying to delete something so that it will capture. Okay, and if I'll go to my CloudWatch log group and refresh, It should capture the logs. It will take some time. In the meantime, do you guys have any questions on this VPC flow logs? Quite confusing, right?
Yes.
Because this is the first time we are seeing CloudWatch and IAM, so we don't have much understanding on this, and we are started using. So that's the reason we are unable to understand what happened exactly. But focus on flow logs. How can we capture the flow log? So we have two ways. One is S3, one is CloudWatch, and the purpose to use is in terms of security. Okay, so that we can provide better security and to know who is trying to access, when he is trying to access, whether the request has been accepted or not. Okay, and here if you'll see this, something has been printed. So if I'll open this, see, we can see different timestamps, and if I'll open any one entry, then we can see this is the account ID, this is the interface number, this is the IP, this is the private IP. Okay, number of packets, and the request has been accepted. Means same logs, there is no change in the logs, only the locations has been changed. One was S3, one is our log group. Here no need to download and all, we can directly watch from here. From for how many minutes you want to watch, for example 1 minute, you can filter it out 1 minute. So it will only show you the logs from last 1 minute. Okay, understood? One second guys. Okay, so this is how we can capture our logs. For every 1 minute we can filter it out, for every 1 minute, for every 5 minutes, or for every 1 hour, 12 hours. So we have a lot of filters over here. Understood?
Got it.
Others?
Got it.
Yeah.
Any questions guys? No? Okay. So and then we have one more concept called VPC peering. So peering is very important. Okay, so why do we need peering? For example, here, let me show you the problem first and then we can talk about the peering. Okay, for example, we have one EC2. Okay, so we have one EC2, public EC2. This is having the internet access and all. And where this is connected, this is in North Virginia region. In North Virginia, this is in my VPC. Okay, so now let me go to one more region, for example Ohio. So let me go to Ohio region. And here let me go to EC2. Okay, so currently I'm in Ohio region. Instances running 0, so there are no instances, right? So if I'll open this, click on launch instance. So I'm trying to launch one instance in Ohio. Okay, so this will be Ohio EC2, just for my understanding. So I'm using Amazon Linux to image, T2 micro, key pairs. There are no key pairs, so let me create one key pair over here. Ohio EC2 is my key pair. Here key pair done, and then edit. I mean networking. Let me use the default one because we don't have any other VPC, so I'm using default one. So subnet, I'm using any 2A subnet. I mean all the subnets are public only, so I can use any subnet. And security group, let me use the default security group, and then scroll down and click on launch instance. So what I have did, I have launched one new EC2 in Ohio region, right? So let me just go to the security part. I mean, let me enable the firewalls. This is my security group. Let me open all access. All traffic 0.0, click on save rules. So what we have did, I have launched one EC2 from, I mean, in North Virginia, sorry, in Ohio region. Okay, and we have one EC2 which is in North Virginia region. So now I want to connect or communicate between this public EC2 to this Ohio EC2. Means I want to do the communication. For example, so this is my public EC2, right? So let me just try to log in. I am trying to connect to my public EC2 which is in North Virginia region. Okay, so let me connect, copy and paste. Okay, now I am in the North Virginia public EC2. Now I want to communicate with the EC2 which is in Ohio region. So what is the public IP? Let me copy the public IP. So if I'll scroll down here, we can find the public IP. So if I'll copy this and if I'll try to do ping, basically how can we check the remote connectivities? By using ping command only, right? So I'm trying to ping 3.12.146.254 and let us see the response. We can see that my North Virginia server is being able to communicate with the server which is in Ohio region, right? So we can see some communication is happening because this is a public IP. So basically public IPs are exposed to internet. So anyone across the globe can try to ping to the server and the server will respond. So I want to test this with private IP. For example, ping and then the private IPs, copy and then ping. What is happening? It is unable to communicate. Means no response, right? Do we have any response? No response. So for example, let me do one more thing. Okay, so let me go to my North Virginia again. Let me stop this. Let me do ping. Okay, so for example, let me go to my North Virginia instance. Let me launch one more instance in North Virginia. Public EC2 1. Okay, Amazon Linux image, T2 micro, keypad should be my first server, and then networking part I want to create in the same VPC, my VPC in public subnet only. Let me create this, enable this, select existing security group, default, scroll down and click on launch instance. So now what we have did, we have created two instances in North Virginia region. Means in same region, same VPC, we have two different instances, both are public. Okay, so we have two instances which are in the same region. Okay, so this is my instance public IP and this is my private IP, right? So let me copy this and let me try to ping this. Ping. So now see what is happening. Same private IP, this time this is working. Earlier, when I was trying to communicate from North Virginia to Ohio, it was not working. But now when I'm trying to communicate from North Virginia to North Virginia, it is working. Why it is working now? What happened earlier?
Same VPC.
Sorry, same?
VPC.
Yes, right. So the connectivity is only possible when we are in the same VPC in AWS. Whatever was said is right. If we are in the same VPC, then we can communicate with our instances because we are in the same network. Now what is happening when I am trying to change two different VPCs, I mean VPC from North Virginia to VPC from Ohio, we are unable to communicate because of two different VPCs. Okay, now I want to establish one connection between North Virginia VPC to Ohio VPC. Means I don't want to block that communication. I want to communicate from the EC2 which is available in North Virginia to the EC2 which is available in the Ohio region. For that purpose, we use VPC peering. Understood what is VPC peering? VPC peering will help us to communicate between multiple VPCs. VPC peering. VPC peering will help us to communicate between multiple VPC in same region, comma, different region and different AWS account. Means if you have one VPC in one account and one VPC in one different account, and if you want to establish the connectivities or communication, then we can use VPC peering service. This will help us to communicate between multiple VPCs in same region, different region or different AWS accounts. But what is the purpose of this communication? Why do we require the communication? There will be several use cases, guys. Means there might be some development applications in North Virginia and production servers in Ohio region, or in same region in one VPC we might configure development EC2s. In one VPC we might configure production EC2s. And if you want to communicate between them, then we need VPC peering service. Okay, but the only condition is no two CADR range should be overlapped. Means the CADR range of two VPC should be different. CADR, for example, VPC1 CADR range is 192.168.0.0/24. VPC2 192.168.0.0/24. This is not possible. It will not allow us to create VPC peering. The only rule is CADRs should not be overlapped. Means both the CADRs should be different. For example, this can be like 172.168.0.0/24. So both the CADRs are different. The connectivity is possible. And if you observe this public EC2, so the CADR for this public EC2 was in North Virginia region 192.168.0.0, and in Ohio region, whatever I have used, this was my VPC, right? So if I click here, then you can see the difference in the CADR 172.31.0.0. Because both the CADRs were different, we were able to create the connectivities, or else it will not create the connectivity. Okay, so now what we can do, we should enable the connectivities. Understood? Let me design this so that it will be clear for you guys. For example, VPC North Virginia. Okay, and what is the IP of this? 192.168.0.0/24. Okay, and then one more VPC which is in Ohio region. This is in Ohio, and what is the IP? 172.31.0.0/16. Okay, here we have one EC2. And here we have one EC2. Now I want to communicate. It can be in same account or different account, guys. Process is same. Okay. Now I want to communicate between them. So what I will do, I will create one peering connection. VPC peering connection. Okay, and this connection it will try to, this is a kind of bidirectional connections, okay, means two ways communicating. Okay, so this is how we can provide the connectivities. As of now, because there is no VPC peering, we are unable to ping from North Virginia to Ohio. But once we establish VPC peering, then we can communicate between them. Okay, so we need to understand this as well. Peering will establish okay, billing will be charged, billing will be charged based on transfer of data, means how much data we have transferred, based upon that only it will be charged. It is not charging per hour basis, it will charge based upon the usage, I mean how much data we have transferred. Clear? Understood guys? What is VPC peering? Let us go with the execution.
Yes.
Yes.
Or you guys have any questions on this?
Let's go for execution.
Okay, what happened? Swati, Sheetal, Shravani, Shiva Balan, Shiva Kumar. Sleeping
Yes,
or
sir,
what?
got it.
No, sir, listening.
Okay. So let us go to VPC peering. So from which region you want to communicate from? North Virginia to Ohio. Okay. So let me go to North Virginia. So this is my North Virginia region. So let me go to VPC peering. Okay, this can find in VPC service only. Here only we can find this. If I scroll down here, so this is my VPC, and here we can find peering connection. So if I click here, then we can find no peering connections as of now, and we can see the option called create peering connection. So if I click this, then it is asking for the name. So peering Virginia to Ohio. Okay, and it is asking us to share the VPC ID. To which VPC you want to communicate. So which VPC? Ohio VPC, right? So let me select VPC. I mean, this is the requester who is trying to request. So my VPC is trying to request. Okay. And then where is your another VPC? Whether this is in the same account or another account. So as of now, it is in the same account but different region, right? So my account, the region is different. So I will be changing this another region. Region is Ohio, and then the ID of the acceptor, means which is trying to accept the request. So this is the ID. Let me copy this ID, paste here, and then scroll down and click on create peering connections. So once done, what happened here, if you see a VPC peering connection, PCX something has been sent to the Ohio, has been requested, means we have raised the request. Now if you want to communicate, then we need to accept the peering connection. Who? The end user. I mean, since it is from the same account, so I am the end user again. If it is from Swati's account, then Swati should accept the request. So where can she find this request? So go to your VPC in Ohio. Okay, go to peering connections. Then you can see some pending acceptance. So just select this actions and accept request. So once accepted, then only the connection can be established. See, now it is been provisioning. See, active and active, right? So we have raised the connection successfully. Now what we need to do is just go to your VPC, which is in North Virginia. Go to your routing tables. Okay, so this is my routing table, public routing table, because I'm using the public subnet, right? So I'm using public route table. Go to routes, edit route, add route, and here we need to add the range of your VPC, which is in Ohio region. So what is the ID? I mean the CADR range. This is the CADR range. Means any request from this range can be accepted. So I'm passing here. And then here I will be using peering connections. And then it is asking me to share the peering. Save changes. Similar thing we need to configure in the route tables of our Ohio region as well. So I should go to my VPC, first copy the CADR, copy, and go to my Ohio VPC and route table. That's the default route table. Okay, and here go to the routes, edit route, add route, destination is this, target is the peering connection. So this is my peering connection and click on save. So we have created VPC peering request from North Virginia to Ohio, and we need to copy the CADR of the VPCs and configure that in the routing tables. So once done, now if you see this, this is my North Virginia public EC2. So let me try to ping to the EC2, which is in Ohio region. So this is my Ohio. Let me go to EC2, instances, private IP. Okay, let me copy and let me try to ping, and let us see what is happening. See, now we are able to successfully communicate. Means we have successfully established the connection between VPC in North Virginia to VPC in Ohio region. So this is how we can establish the connectivities. Understood? Is this easy or tough?
Peering,
We have to practice.
Yes.
A bit of confusion.
Confusing because there are a lot of tabs we are moving. Okay, so if you watch the video again, then I mean the implementation is straightforward, guys. We just need to understand the steps which needs to be
Concepts.
implemented. Yeah.
Abir, can we log into the uh, another EC2 by using jump server as well? As
Yeah,
we have
since
the
you have the
connection.
communication, right? Now you can also log in. You can
Sure.
test that. Okay.
Sure.
For example, now we have one more VPC. For example, we have one more VPC. VPC 3. Okay, here we have one more EC2. Okay, now I want to communicate between VPC Ohio to VPC 3. So how is that possible? Again, we need to create one VPC peering. VPC peering. Okay, and then we can communicate between them as well. For example, now if I want to establish the communication between VPC North Virginia to VPC 3, will it work with only two VPC peerings? No, right? So we should create a connection between these two again. Means the more VPCs we are getting, the VPC peering will get complex for us to manage. For example, we have 10 VPCs. We have 10 VPCs, or for example, assume that we have only 3 VPCs. So how many connections should be managed? For example, VPC, VPC 1, VPC 2, VPC 3. So how many peering connections should we create? VPC 1 to VPC 2, 1. Okay, VPC 2 to VPC 3, and then
1, 2, 3.
VPC 1 to VPC 3. So how many connections are required? 3 connections are required. So we have the complete connections now. 1 to 2 is possible, 2 to 3 is possible, and 1 to 3 is also possible. For example, if you have 4, then how many connections should we create?
2 more connections will be added.
So in which probability this is working? There should be some logic, right, behind this. For example, if they have asked in interviews, if we have 6 VPCs, then how many pairing connections are required? So what will be your answer? How many pairing connections are required if you have 6 pairing?
Factorial.
6 5 are 30.
Then can we say factorial?
No.
120.
120, no.
2 to the power of n minus 1.
Answer मिला जी 2 to the power of n minus 1. Let us do one. Even I am not sure. So let me check. Chat GPT. If we have 6 VPC, then how many pairing connections are required? There was some formula, even I am unable to recollect that. Oh, you have seen this from Chat GPT.
Not at all.
15 connections are required. VPCs. Then how many pairing connections? 15. For example, let me regenerate. There might be some different. This is quite complex. Even I don't want this. Overall, we required 15 connections, but the calculations, I mean, it will be quite tough for everyone to understand. Okay, 6 into 5 by 2 equal to 15. 35 by 2, 15. Okay. For example, if we need 10, then 10 into 9, 90 by 2, 45.
45.
Yeah, 45. So this is the formula. Basically, n into n minus 1 by 2. N is nothing but the number of VPCs you want to create. If you, in my case, 10, 10 into 9, 90 by 2 equal to 45. Yeah. So this is how it is working. So always, for example, you want to create 3 VPCs. Okay, 3 into 2. 6 by 2, 3. Okay, for example, 20 VPCs, how many should we create?
20 into
20
19 by 2.
20
20
into
into 19 by 2.
19 by 2. So this is how we need to calculate and we can tell the answer in interviews. Okay. So but what is happening is, here if you see this, for example, if we have smaller infrastructure, for example 2 VPCs, 3 VPCs, then this is well and good for the communication. If we are trying to scale, for example, you have 100 VPCs, then if you have 100 VPCs, then it is very difficult to create the pairing connections, right? So there will, I mean, it will be quite complex for us to manage this. That's where we have one more concept called VPC Transit Gateway. This service will help us to communicate between multiple VPCs and easily scalable, and it will create a complete mesh for us. Okay, so we'll talk about this hopefully in tomorrow's session. Okay, so for now, remember, VPC pairing is to communicate between multiple services. I will talk about the differences between these two services and the implementation part. We'll see again tomorrow. Okay. So, any questions, guys? Or we are good with today?
No
Azaddin Sheikh raised
No.
his hand. Looks like he has some question. Okay. So let me stop this recording. Thank you so much, guys.